Hi everybody, this is Nate. Welcome to my channel, and I wanted to welcome Ness today for
Hello, everyone.
our monthly visit,
Yes,
and welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I just looked at September's energies and I feel very hopeful. So I'm looking forward to sharing with y'all.
Very hopeful, very optimistic.
Yeah, it has some peaks and valleys, some climax moments, but it's all moving towards a positive direction. So I can't wait to share it with everyone.
Oh, great. And maybe just a little bit of the end of August. Anything in particular for the end
You
of
know, oh, the end. Well, the end of August is right now, and we do have some interesting astrology this week. I believe the 25th and the 26th. We have some interesting Venus opposite Pluto energies right now, but we have being helped out with Uranus and Neptune. So there's some breakthrough energies that are going to be happening this week. So folks, expect some progress this week, some movement.
Okay.
But yes, but also for September, we end on a dramatic note as well.
Oh, great.
Yes.
And so have you been able to maybe kind of link with some of those energies that have passed or that are coming with the news or current events in the
Yes. Yes. I
okay.
mean, it's interesting. I'm watching the news, especially this week, and seeing some of Trump's speeches. Every time I watch him speak, his energy just feels like it's dimming and dimming and dimming. And he's also a lot more rambly in his speeches. I think he did this homage to Putin and showed a photo of Putin during a FIFA conference. Did you see that, or did you catch that?
I've heard about it, but I haven't seen it. Yeah.
Yeah, if you watch one of his, just I mean the past 5 days or something, watch one of his speeches, and especially if you watch it with the sound off,
Mhm.
it feels weird. Like it feels. I watched Biden and Trump's debate back, back a year ago-ish, and that was the one where people thought Biden's performance was not up to snuff, and I kind of went back and forth trying to understand it. And when I watched it with the sound off, it became clear of like, oh, yes, I see what people are seeing. And so with Trump's recent speeches, if you watch it with the sound off, just watch the energy, you can feel it a bit more than what you would
Oh,
maybe
that's interesting.
intellectually think about. Yeah, that's a trick. When you want to feel the energies of someone on YouTube, just watch it with the sound off, and you'll feel it a lot more. Linda G with the sound off is like like a 100
But
watt bulb.
we're not suggesting everyone turns the sound off for us right now.
No, no, no. You shouldn't do
We
that.
have interesting to say, so please,
Yes, yes,
if
no.
you turn the sound
Just
off,
for a
maybe do
test.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but it's interesting. And I follow a lot of the readers, and the theme this week is Trump's health too.
Mhm.
It was Linda G and Marianne both did videos, I think a couple hours apart. So I don't even think they even knew about each other in terms
Yeah.
of it. Often with you readers, you're like one of the last people to know when someone published a, because you're so busy with your schedule. And they both were reading about his health, and they saw very close. They pulled cards about like the and I feel that too. I feel when I'm a baby intuitive. I'm nowhere anywhere near you all are, but I feel this like wind up energy. Like I feel this like wind up energy, this wind up energy and kind of like anxiety sort of building. And I hope the eclipses are a big release for some of that. But how are you feeling? Are you feeling the collective energies?
Well, yeah, it is interesting on this topic in particular. When I did my 50 predictions video, this was the second video for kind of answers to some of those questions. And during some of those videos, like this one, I was putting some cards live. And
Hmm.
in the question regarding Trump's health, there was the card of it was a three of sword, but what was very interesting is there was some bleeding near the ear.
Oh, like the assassination attempt had bleeding
Well,
near the
yeah,
ear.
to some degree, kind of
Yeah.
like the assassination, but one could say like it could have been even more internal. But what was even more surprising to me,
Mm-hmm.
that card, there was some bleeding in the stomach area. And
Mm-hmm.
so I feel like, particularly when it comes to his health, blood, which they kind of
Yeah.
admitted that there were some
Yeah, the
problems
heart,
there.
because the ankles,
Yes.
they make
And
jokes about how his
so
ankles look like
blood
elephants. Yeah.
flow
Yeah.
and blood could be stroke. He could have had multiples already. But
Yeah.
what was new to me was the stomach area.
Mm,
So
mm,
I'm kind of leaving that with the audience. But yeah,
yeah.
there's like more and more issues. And intuitively, like I feel like he's been told that that is almost a voice that I've heard from a doctor or the medical
Yeah.
surgeon. Um, there's really not much we can do at this point.
Yeah, I felt
Yeah,
that too, actually. I
yes.
felt that. I
Okay,
don't try
yeah.
to step into people's energies, but I was like, I listened to Heather Cox Richardson. I don't know if folks are familiar with Heather Cox Richardson. Let me share my screen for folks who are not, because she's an amazing YouTube personality. She's a historian, and so she often will look at past trends to get a sense of what's happening in past civilizations, very much like astrology. Most traditional astrologers aren't like historians. They often will see when a trends that happened in the past to make sense of what will happen to it now. And she was talking a lot about his his decline, and that he's acting in a way possibly that like he might have gotten some news or something. He's talking about mortality a lot this week, and
Mhm.
she was noticing some of those aspects. And so I was listening to her and I was trying to feel into him, and I felt he actually got some not so good news
Yeah.
recently. Like something like when you're younger, hearing bad news, like how you're like, oh my gosh, it's the end. But when you're older, it's more like a game of triage of like, which one are you going to manage? Yes, I'm taking this thing maybe that can kill me, but it's better than what it's going to solve me, how it's going to, put this other thing at bay. And so I feel he got some news, or he received some news about the probabilities of certain things. Like
Yeah.
like it's not something that he's going to overcome, but something he's going to manage and
Exactly.
possibly will
Yeah, I
nip
agree.
him and get him.
Yeah.
And so, and also I think he had IVs on both hands this week. He always had the paint and the IV on one hand. I think it was like during the first week of July when the Epstein things happened, they announced or they showed that he had makeup on his hand and other stuff. And then this week he had it on his other hand, which shows that that they can't use this hand, so they have to go to this hand. And the veins in the hand are like when I get my blood withdrawn, I have really thin veins here, so they actually don't go here. They often will go through my hands. And so the hand veins are very ideal. They're more easier to get through than here. And so the fact that they had to switch hands is not a good sign.
Oh, I see
Um,
what you mean.
because
Yeah.
yeah, usually, I mean, I don't mean to go, but you have a lot of veins to choose from in your
Yes,
hand.
yes.
And so the fact that they have to go to the other hand is not a good sign for him and his health. But I felt that. I felt he had some bad news. And then I also felt I actually posed this question to Linda when she was doing her non-live yesterday. I feel this energy of Vance, Peter Thiel, and Musk sort of circling like vultures, like Trump. Like I feel that like bidding their time. I feel like a lot of people are biding their time right now. Like I feel like Netanyahu kind of got what he needed in terms of the goals. Like he's
Oh,
able to
I
move
see
forward
what
with
you mean.
Gaza. I feel Putin is trying to get his end of the deal quickly right now. And I feel like more people maybe know about Trump's health right now, or they might have known for a while, and they're kind of quickly trying to redeem their deal with him now. Did you feel that energies yeah.
Well, that would make sense. I feel also another element to add is the big, beautiful bill got
Yes.
passed. So that's
Yes.
kind of another thing that's done. So
Hmm.
maybe there is a question of what else does he has in his bag of tricks that he could do, because a lot of people got, to your point, what they wanted
They
or
wanted,
close
yeah.
to what they wanted. So that's a little bit, from a strategy standpoint, he went so fast with his executive orders. Then it did, like you don't give everything when you have people wanting things from you,
Yeah, you don't give it
give
right
it
away.
away right away.
You
And so
hold
I
on
think
it.
that was,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. Because even uh Netanyahu or Israel's, it was they would, Linda, you used the expression yesterday, Occam's razor, which is the most obvious reason of why something is the most likely reason of something. And so it's now in my mind, right? More present. But with Israel, their advantage with Trump would have been the U.S. protection as they pursued Gaza. And right now, they're working toward their last military front with Gaza, and they're kind of reaching the end of that conflict. I don't imagine it's any more months in terms of exhausting what they can out of that. But so they've got their end of the deal, right? They were able to do that. They were able to, have Iran being bombed and stuff like that. So Putin, his end of the deal is this Ukraine thing, like this war thing. And so he needs to wrap that up soon. But it's almost like these people are sort of in bed with him in different ways. And they also maybe know about his health and they sort of have to move so quickly, right? That's why they are moving so quickly with the beautiful bill and like, because they need to do it before maybe his health
There's like a
deteriorates or
time limit
yeah,
on things, even though I think with Putin, this is not going to be that easy for him. I think this is the ones like, you know, um, he is against, first of all, the situation in Russia is not as good as one might think. It's actually really bad. And he's not really finding people. Yes, he has an advantage with drones, but
technology, yeah.
there's a lot of pushback and there's going to be a lot of resistance. So
Mm.
I think I would be shocked if he's able to get something from Trump before Trump's gone.
Yeah, likelihood,
Yeah.
yes. Yes.
Yes.
And it's interesting because both Israel and Russia do work with psychics. Like they actually there's a famous book. I don't have it behind me. But there's a book that became popular when the TV show Stranger Things started to be popular on Netflix, which was about governments using psychic for military. And so I do know that Russia and Israel do use, and we also do it too, but I don't think we admit it formally. So I wouldn't be surprised if they intuitively know about his health as well, in
Oh.
addition to the timing. Because one thing, Kamala did a Stephen Colbert interview like a couple weeks back.
Mhm.
And it's interesting when you're intuitive, when people say certain things, certain lines just vibrate a bit more.
Right.
Like you can feel there's more truth behind it, and you circle it a bit more than other things that they say. And there was one line that she said that vibrated for me, which was she was surprised by the GOP kind of capitulating more to Trump, and she expected that they would stand up more to him. And I thought about that. Like she thought they would push back more than they did. And I continued to think afterwards, and I wondered if they were sort of aware of this like time limit thing. Like let him do it for the first year and then we'll have Vance or
To
something like
be,
that.
to be,
Like
yeah,
there's a sense of like, okay, let him just do this for a year. It's pretty extreme what's happened in the past 7 months.
of course.
But the expectation is it's only for 7 months or it's only for a year as opposed to 4 years. And that makes more sense a bit more why they don't capitulate, why they are capitulating with Trump, because maybe in their mind, they don't see it as 4 years, they see it as 1 year, and that possibly Vance would be someone they would work with afterwards.
If that even actually happens with,
I know.
I'm not
It's
even sure.
I
It's just that it doesn't really resonate. I I I said, and I still feel like Vance would be president for a short period of time. The same way, if you remember that Kamala Harris was president.
Oh, when he had surgery. Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. When Biden had
That's
surgery.
something
Yeah.
that sometimes is forgotten, but she was
Hmm.
actually the first female president of the United States. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so I
I
like.
feel people in the comments are going to say she was the first female
Well, yeah.
president elected.
But she was.
She
She
was. She
was.
was. Yes. No, she
I mean,
was.
like, there's
Yeah.
no dispute about it. This is a
Yeah. And
historical
it's coming
fact.
out. There's a
Yeah.
lot of chatter about there's that NSA agent, the XCI agent. They're noticing things. But yeah, go on. You were
Yeah.
going to
I
say
mean,
something.
no matter what she was, like, that's an undeniable fact
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
when Biden had the surgery, he
Yeah.
gave her
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
power. So,
Power.
regardless. And so I felt like something similar
Hmm.
happened with Vance. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. I had when I did my August show with Linda, at the very end, we were chit-chatting, and I told her like she didn't see Vance as president. I don't feel it, and I don't know if we're both in denial about it because we don't see it, but there's something about him. He doesn't give off leader. he gives off like sidekick energy. You know, when you watch a children's film and there's usually like the animal that's like the sidekick and then there's the main hero. Like he feels like the sidekick, you know, like he's the horse or he's the goat. He's not like the main character. And so I can't quite see him. And I think he's done now 8 vacations. I think it was 7 a week ago, but now it's number 8. He's taken 8 vacations in 7 months in
Oh,
terms
wow.
of
Well, he was in the UK not too long ago. There was a whole
yeah.
controversy. He was fishing and he didn't have a fishing permit. I mean,
Yeah. So
yeah.
it's interesting. So both there's a lot of interesting things with him in the news about his health and his health is waning. And so I also think about what Kamala said, the capitulation, and I wonder if they're all doing this because they know there's a time limit, that they're just doing it for now and they're sort of getting into it. But it's interesting also the gerrymandering that's happening, the overt gerrymandering. And I don't know if it was I think Jon Stewart had said this, or maybe one of us on YouTube, or even Heather Cox Richardson, about how Republicans have been using gerrymandering for a long time, especially when Obama was first his the midterms when he was elected. So the 2010 midterm election season, there was a huge gerrymandering. How do I say this? When Obama was elected, we had all three were the Democrats, the House, the uh, the Senate, and the presidential. And so 2 years later, it's swaying back to make Congress more red to kind of balance out. That's what happens sometimes. And when in 2010, when the Congress went more red, they did a lot of gerrymandering because the 2010 census happened. And so the GOP strategy at the time, in response to Barack being elected, they gerrymandered the F out of their districts. And so with this Texas gerrymandering strategy and also likely other states, it's not going to just be Texas. Um, they're going to be doing this tactic, but the Democrats have not used this tool before. And so as much as they're overtly gerrymandering and redrawing these little squiggly districts, they've sort of already taken all the juice out of that fruit already. And so the Democrats haven't taken the juice out of the fruit. So it's very interesting the strategies that are happening in terms of how that's going to play.
Well, there's gerrymandering and redistricting, which is like
Yes.
different ways. And so I feel like the Democrats could totally, there could be a situation where there's like proper redistricting just based on proper
Yeah.
data versus gerrymandering, which is
Gerrymandering.
something that could be caught in the courts. And so
Yeah,
it is possible, and I've discussed
it's true.
this, where, the Texas one could be stop and the California one could go forward. That could very well be
Oh, that's
a
interesting based on how
situation.
they do it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Because there's an evaluation of how it's being done and if
Yeah.
there's any kind of bias being introduced or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have to see, but I feel like there's going to be a court issue with the Texas one. Um,
Hmm.
and kind of at a broader perspective, what I've kind of heard was my message was it's just not going to matter. Comes the midterm,
Mm.
it's just not going
Mm.
to matter. I don't think that's wishful thinking. It's more a
Yeah.
message that I heard like, yeah, but when you consider all the different dimensions, it's not going to prevent the house to turn blue, and that I feel pretty strong
Yeah.
about.
It's interesting too, because I mean, obviously there's the whether the election was proper, which, the data doesn't quite show it and the woo-ness doesn't quite show it. But even if you buy into it that it was, like certain groups that went are sort of alienated. Like think the Latin population who tilted surprisingly, whatever the numbers were saying. I don't think they're gonna vote.
That's right.
Yeah,
Even
they're
if
gonna.
you believe the numbers,
Yes, exactly. Even if you
consider that. Yes,
subscribe,
yes.
yeah, they said the Latin, especially male Latins, Latin population tilted more towards Trump. I doubt. I mean, who knows? But I totally believe they won't. I've seen so many TikTok videos and so much content where people are pulled over and they're like, "Why? I've been a citizen for 20 years. Are you just racial profiling me?" And they're like, "And I voted for Trump, and I'm very confused." And like, they're just having that rude awakening in so
Yeah.
many different ways. And so yeah, I think logically it won't happen because of, yeah, or that they can't fit the narrative that it happens, in terms of if they try to do shenanigans. But yeah, it feels very interesting. I also think about the Gavin Newsom can, he's rising right now to the top, and I wonder if he's rising too soon. Like if you if it's too early, you can be attacked, or you might actually rise to the moment and you actually can hold your weight all the
Mhm.
way through. So I'm a little torn about, him. He's my governor. I live in California, but it's interesting of someone rising so early, but then you also need the fundraising. You need to be identified
Yes.
now because you need all that money to kind of come behind you for the campaigns and also for the oligarchs to recognize you and to back you, as opposed to other oligarchs. Yeah.
I feel like he's definitely making himself a target by definition, and he will be. And I feel that Trump will attack him, Trump and his people.
And
And I
Vance
feel like
and other
he's
people.
there's
Yeah.
gonna be some troubles ahead for him. Like I feel like
It,
this is inevitable. Um, but kind of taking the counter argument,
mhm.
if you rise early, you'll be attacked earlier.
Oh,
And
you can get over. Oh, wow.
and you
Like
get
that.
over
Yeah.
earlier because you don't want to be attacked in the last. I mean, you will be,
Last minute for the
but you want
surprises.
to kind of clear
Yeah.
some of
You're
that
more
ahead of
tested.
time. Yes.
In a weird way, he's doing the inverse of Kamala. Like instead of a 102-day
Yes.
election primary, he's doing like let's go the opposite way. And I don't want that to be my Achilles heel at all. Also I was hiking and I was thinking about him the other day, and I wonder, sometimes not everyone's supposed to be president. Not everyone's supposed to this linearness of going to the top. Sometimes people are just meant to be strategic advantages, like kind of like in the Civil War, there was a General Patton, and I believe, if I'm recalling it accurately, he did this really great military maneuver and helped the Union with their stronghold. And so he wasn't like the top lead, the most top leader, but he did something very strategically. And I feel that a bit with Gavin, like he's this warrior energy, and if he doesn't go all the way to the top, he's kind of taking it for the team, or he's battling the
Yeah.
the
Yep.
the military strategy right now. And that would also be enough too. Like it doesn't always have to be everyone rise to the top. Yeah.
And I think that's why it's getting a lot of attention because someone has to go to war.
Yeah.
Clearly,
Someone needs to
we
go to
are
war.
under attack, and it's been really, I feel disappointing to
Yeah.
see a weak response.
I know. I know. And I feel a bit of that is the Democrats are having this identity crisis of being like Bernie and AOC and being this progressive, and even the mayor candidate, I can't think of his name right now, Madani.
Yep.
Yeah, versus like just being a repackaged oligarchy kind of energy where like the oligarchs are still in control. And I think there is a struggle in American politics around that, the oligarchs' kind of power over things versus being really for the people.
We do see that in Europe as well. Like
Mm,
if see two two lefts, so to
mm,
speak.
mm,
One that is more conventional and one is more progressives, more
mm,
radical. And it is an issue. Like it is not an issue to have two quote unquote flavors of ice cream,
mm.
but it is an issue in terms of mobilization and finding a direction
Yeah,
to unite because you
yeah,
win while being united.
yeah,
And it will always be true that um, the more radical left will always be pointed to by the Republican because of the radicality
mm,
in the thoughts. And so,
yeah.
for example, that's why there was a lot of, well, do you really want to defund the police? Do you? It's
Yeah,
just
the extremes hijack the
extreme, and it's
conversation.
just being used
Yeah,
in terms of, and there's of course never full understanding that this radicality, radical, the word radical means at
hmm
the root. And so
hmm
you're trying to resolve the problem at the root. That's what
hmm hmm
radical means. And it's
hmm
not being extreme, it's
Yeah,
just a different thought of resolving the problem
yeah,
at the
yeah.
root of it. And so that has gone completely misunderstood.
Yeah, it's interesting too because especially the younger people, we've seen radical change as a positive, even though it can be a negative. Like if you think about cultural revolutions like the Chinese Cultural Revolution or the Iranian Cultural Revolution, you could say those are negative radical because they went to more conservative direction. But the younger folks, we have, Airbnb or Uber or, like Amazon disrupting industries, creating radical change. And I think there's an appetite for that in politics as well that isn't quite manifesting. And I think that's the the energy of Trump that people are sort of drawn to is like he's going to be a bull in a china shop. He's going to kind of break things. And I hope the political establishment sort of understands that we want that radical change. But and I think Gavin's sort of invoking that a bit too. And I think that's what the Democrats are struggling with. Do we be this like radical change, or how do we be it, especially when those that benefit and they don't want that to change? So it's a very interesting thing. I feel like you want to say something. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean it's just something that I think is at the heart of everything, whether it's on the Democrat side or on the Republican or
Yeah.
MAGA side.
Yeah.
Everyone wants a disruption, but no one wants to be disrupted.
Yes. Yes. Oh my
And
gosh, you
so
could put that on a pillow.
And so that's really this contradiction that we're
Yeah.
facing here
Yeah.
is we want that, complete disruption,
Yeah.
a different world, because we realize we're really bumping ahead into the
Yeah.
end of this world.
Yeah.
But we don't want to disrupt the good that we have, or we don't want to
Yeah.
be disrupted in our own way. And
Yeah.
so, to some degree, we're also responsible for wanting change, at
Hmm.
the same time, afraid of this
The
change,
change.
afraid
Yeah.
of losing. And so, you can see this theme across the whole political spectrum.
Yeah. Yeah.
And kind of interesting, kind of putting back into your field. Uh,
Yeah. That
of
was
astrology, because like what are the planets of change and what are the
yes.
planets of stability and how they interact together? Isn't that interesting?
Yes, no, it's very, let me actually segue with that because there's actually something astrologically very connected to that. Let me get into September's astrology as a whole too. Before I do that, actually, what you're describing, this period of change, is what I call the 2025 transits. This is something that I actually do a reading just on. Let me see if I can hide the left thing here. So basically, I do a 2025 transit reading, which isn't about the year 2025. It's something that happens in 2025, which is about the five outer planets change signs in basically 6 months. And the astrologers that I subscribe to say this hasn't happened in 3,000 years. They've changed signs in 2 years, in a year and a half, but they have not changed signs in basically 6 months. And so what that is a period of change for us. It's a period of disruption. And yes, we're kind of like, go disrupt that over there. Keep me, so I can benefit, but don't do it over here. And so not only are the 2025 in this particular reading that I do is it's not just about the planets changing signs, what they constantly do, in their own time. They're changing signs and they're actually coming together and having a committee. They're having this UN in your chart. And so as they are changing signs, they're actually working, they're collaborating, they're creating change in your life. And this is going to unfold for you for the next 3 years. And then you're going to head down a new timeline. And so what you're describing, this resistance to change, is going to happen in the next 3 years for the collective. And so I think we're going to have a breakthrough when it comes to politics around that. And so when I do folks' individual charts, we will see where it happens. Are you having a work story? Are you having a writing a book and sharing your views story? Are you having a going inward, an internal story? Are you having a spiritual story? Are you having a teaching story? Like you're helping, guide a group of people, etc. So we will see where it happens, but that's very on trend. And this is basically a portal period between November 2024 to November 2026. We're going to have a 2-year period of change. And this is a period of change in air and fire sign activity. So elevated thinking, processing information, having more discernment. And then fire is that elevated action, boldness, bravery. And so we're so far 6 months into it, and I would say this is a lot of air activity. What we're going to see towards the end of this year, especially next year, is a lot more action, a lot more fire activity. So that's kind of like at a high level, is setting the stage. I'll come back to this. I have some new offerings, a calendar I'm going to do for 2026 that I'm announcing here first, and then some new classes. But I'll go back to that. Let's get into September's astrology at a high level. And how are you feeling September's energies? Do you feel it's mostly the same as August? Are you feeling differences? Like, what are you feeling?
Um, I actually feel like there's a shift moving into September. intuitively. I feel that September has a more down to earth energy in the sense of things are moving, things are shifting. It's not an, to me, it doesn't feel like it's an energy that's like up in the air. It's an energy that's actually in action. And so
Mm-hmm.
I feel like people have really kind of in June, July, August had moments like, mental tower moments, but the
Mm-hmm.
actual material tower moment, I could see that happening in September, October. That's just how I feel. I
More
also
things
wanted
in your
to
head.
kind
Yeah.
of put a note because, I mean, as you know, I do readings, and I take a lot of questions on my Sunday shows, as you know, since you've
Mm-hmm.
helped me so much with this.
Yes.
But I am shocked by the number of situations lately where parents and children are being
Yes.
estranged.
Estranged. Yes.
It is very hard to hear those
Yeah.
situations, and I wonder, like, what is really going on here? Because
Yeah.
I've never seen as many situations like
Yeah.
this as recently.
It's
Yeah.
it's one of your top questions, actually. I would say it's right there with finances
Yeah.
and career changes is estrangement from children. There's actually a secondary research on this. I think 1 out of 5 millennials have been estranged
Um,
or currently are estranged by parents. It's very common, and there's like a lot of variables, both that are soft on both sides or also puts blame on both sides, in the sense of finances for millennials and not being so economically well off, so they don't have time to kind of reach out. There's a sense of cultural differences. There's a sense of millennials have this avoidance, kind of a throwaway aspect. I'm a millennial too, and so I feel embarrassed to say that out loud. But there is a cultural sense of like disposableness that is more prevalent with millennials than others. And so yeah, there's blame and benefits on both sides in terms of this thing, but this it's very common. And there's research papers you can read about this. There's like Rolling Stone articles, Variety articles. It's very common. 1 out of 5 millennials are estranged from their
uh,
parents. So it's yeah, or have been or actively are estranged. It's a big uh, issue that folks are doing. There's actually a lot of support groups too for folks who want to talk about it with other parents. There's like support groups on Facebook, and then there's also support groups for the millennials in terms of how they process that.
very
So
interesting. Because in this
yeah,
channel, just demographically, it leans more towards the parents or the grandparents.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so they're feeling the pain of having their children or
yes,
grandchildren. And actually, even
yeah,
aside from being estranged, like not communicating as much,
yeah,
like not
yeah.
just take like the first level, like
Hmm.
they suffer from a lack of integration into their
Yeah,
lives, which
yeah.
it always makes me feel a bit sad. Yeah.
Yeah, especially when they want to know. It's
Yeah.
interesting. It's not just sometimes just the adult parent's relationship with the adult child. Sometimes it's grandchildren involved, and they
Yeah.
want to get to know the grandchildren more, and they feel sometimes, yeah, their main interest is the grandchildren and not the parent. And so it's like they feel like the grandchild is being held hostage. Yeah, for folks, if you are experiencing this, it's very common. There's a lot of literature to help guide your emotions or support groups on this, but it's unfortunately common, and it's a cultural phenomenon because this didn't exist as much with the Gen X children, and so this is something newer with millennials, and it'll be curious to see with the other generations too. Moving to September astrology, the main event of September's astrology is the eclipses. That's the main star. And this is a very powerful set of eclipses, which is about, it's going to be in Virgo and Pisces. And so this is about detoxifying and purifying your life. There's a sense of cleaning things up, both with your body, because Virgo rules the body. And then also Pisces is more spiritual and mental processes. So there's a great purge happening for the collective with September's energy. That's the main star. I didn't kind of put it as a bullet point, but the very final takeaway I would want everyone to have is just the eclipse season with September. And then going into the sub themes, September as a whole provides a lot of clarity. There's a lot of clarity of communication because Mercury was retrograding in Leo for a big part of August and July. And so we're seeing Mercury go past its shadow and move straight into Virgo. And so what we're seeing here, this is the sky path that I create for each month. And so we're seeing Mercury go right into Virgo and go into Libra for the month of September. And while it does that, it's going to loosely be conjunct over the sun. So expect a lot of clarity of communication, clear thinking. And especially with the news and politics, we're going to get a lot more new information as opposed to like being in a loop about wait, what happened. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have some Epstein clarity too, that happens this week. And especially didn't one House committee or Democrat committee got the files like or received the files last Friday or something like that?
I
Or
feel like there some files were sent to
some
Congress,
files.
but I
And
don't know.
if
Uh,
it was all of them.
I don't know. The
Yeah.
other thing that personally I've felt in my readings is yes, there will be some information coming out of those files, but I
Mhm.
also feel like there will be some fake leaks, fake news. So I don't
Oh,
know if you have any kind of wanted to check that with you actually, Ness, if there were
yeah.
anything that would support lies basically in
Yes.
areas. Yes.
Yes. Yes, and it's interesting. With the astrology, it shows that we will know that they're lies right away.
Okay.
If they are strategies, they're almost going to be outed very quickly. There's a lot of clarity of communication. Mercury's in a very happy spot in Virgo for the month
Okay.
of September, and so we will see. If we see lies, they're going to be exposed as lies. I guess sometimes when we see lies, we don't know they're lies, and we just go through our life and have a happy day. But if with the energies of September, they will likely be exposed quickly, and that could be what you're feeling, the acknowledgement and the awareness of the
The
lies as
lies.
opposed to just lies sort of being percolating. Yeah, so there's a lot of clarity of communication, clarity of thought. If folks are writing books or writing proposals or writing contracts, this is a great month for it to kind of outline things, to write things down, to journal. You're gonna be really lucid with your thinking and clarity, and you're just going to be able to have insights on top of insights as opposed to just circling around concepts and not really making any heads of tails of things. There's also going to be a point where Mercury will have a grand trine with Pluto and Uranus. So there's a lot of breakthrough energy with your thinking. You're going to have new insights, new ways of looking at things. Also, during September, Mars will loosely sextile Venus. So there's a lot of harmony between actions and relationships. So things will move forward with relationships for the month of September. We're also seeing the eclipses are being supported with Jupiter in Cancer, but they're also being hampered with Saturn in moving into Pisces. So there's something about Jupiter's expansiveness. Jupiter is also in Cancer with family or people that feel like family or emotions, and then Saturn in Pisces is also that tough lesson, tough accountability. So that's kind of a flavor with these eclipses, and then we end on a bang in September because the Mars will square Pluto, which I'll get into in a moment. But that's going to be some interesting moments of power struggles and some possibly war. I always think of war when it comes to
Mm.
Mars. That's where I often go to. So let's unpack them each. Oops, let me just zoom out a wee bit. So that's September as a whole for folks who want to just take a photo of this. This is a great screen to take a photo looking at the overall month. And I'm going to be talking about these 5 events today. And I'd love you also, Nath, maybe to pull some cards on some of the eclipses. There's one in particular that is really noteworthy. So we're going to talk about this eclipse that happens on the 21st. This one is, I believe, yeah, a solar eclipse. This is the main event in terms of, for folks who are listening, if anything you take away from today's astrology, just notice the 21st. That's the one I recommend to watch out for. Then we're going to look at the lunar eclipse that happens on the 7th. And then we're going to start to unpack some of these grand trines that happen. We're going to have a grand trine with the Sun, Pluto, and Uranus here on the 23rd, and then a grand trine happen with Mercury, Pluto, and Uranus. These are creative breakthrough energies, very positive. And then we end on this Mars squaring Pluto, which is something to watch out for in terms of the energies. So let's unpack it. I'd love you to pull cards on this one, the solar eclipse that's happening in Virgo on the 21st. And, we had a new moon in Virgo, I just want to say a couple days ago. And so there's something about what just happened a couple days ago that's going to rhyme a little bit with the solar eclipse in Virgo, and for folks who are newer to eclipses and go, I heard about it, I know they're important, like what am I supposed to do with that? So eclipses are supposed to represent kind of fated moments in life. This is where your life takes a change and you sort of enter a new timeline in some area of your life. We would look at where in your chart that happens, but eclipses are about fated events, kind of little pivots or kind of nudges that kind of change the trajectory of your life. There are two types. There is the lunar and solar, and so they kind of are just the new moon and full moon, but kind of to the 10th power. They're just more extreme in terms of how they're expressed. It's a recommendation not to manifest during the eclipses because the energies are so chaotic. It's kind of like riding a bull. You don't want to touch it. Like it might go sideways. It's kind of one of those movies where if you make a wish, it becomes the opposite of what you want, or like you're supposed to be more precise with your language, and then you have a different interpretation of it. Eclipses are also very intense. Everyone's going to feel irritated, more like road rage moments, more like irritability that happens with the collective. And this is also a period where life comes in and life exits. There's a lot of births that happen on the eclipses, like babies are born regardless of their due date. And then also a lot of exits. A lot of people end up dying around the eclipses too. So just be aware of that. But this particular eclipse has a lot of interesting hallmarks. One, it's happening on the equinox, which is very interesting. It's happening on the anaretic degree, the 29th degree, which is very intense. This one's about Virgo, which is about detoxifying, decluttering, organizing about your health, your daily habits, your routines. Virgo is also focused on perfectionism and trying to raise our standards in different areas of our life. And this is also going to be happening opposite Saturn. And so Saturn's asking us to be more disciplined, more accountable, have more of a plan in place as opposed to just going, free will in terms of different directions. So that's kind of at a high level the energies that are associated with the solar eclipse in Virgo, which is a new moon, kind of to the 10th power. What are you feeling, Nath, about this eclipse?
Well, I am quite relieved because when I saw in the cards matches what you said, so
Oh, really? Oh, great.
I was like, how am I gonna manage if it's not
Yeah,
matching?
yeah.
It
Yeah,
is
let me.
matching. I got the Seven of Pentacles. The Seven of Pentacles is a card of hard work,
Yep,
details,
yep.
cleaning, working. So it matches one of your sentences. Is a lot of
Especially,
details, is a lot of looking at things carefully, organizing.
yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a lot of cleaning house, not in the sense of cleaning, but in a sense of organizing and putting things in order.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's kind of what I feel the most of that energy for this particular point. Um, you had another one that was the lunar eclipse on the
Yeah, we can go to
7th.
that next. Yeah, we on
Yes.
this isn't as intense. I would think the 21st
Okay.
is one you feel more, but this one's a lunar eclipse, which is a full moon. Full moons are intense, but
Okay.
there's just more energies with that one. This is the 15th degree of Pisces for folks who are, where it is in your chart. And this one's actually sextiling and trining Jupiter at the same time. So that's actually softening this a lot more. It's very positive with that regards. But this one is in Pisces. So Pisces is about our mental health, our spiritual energy. So there's a bit of a purge, release, letting go of those spiritual energies, of those subconscious beliefs in different ways. And so with this, I wouldn't be surprised for folks. There's a lot of energy with full moons, especially with the lunar eclipse. So there could be psychic intuition being kind of brought up, more spiritual awareness. You could have very interesting dreams. And with Pisces, there is a focus on the bigger picture, seeing the forest for the trees. So a sense of healing, compassionate, forgiveness, not only for others, but also for ourselves. There's a bigger view that we hold. And what are you seeing, Nate, for that?
Yep, I'm also getting a good match here. I got the card of the Fool. The Fool is
Mhm.
the zero in the tarot. It is a
Yeah,
complete reset. It's you
yeah,
haven't even gotten to. So that means that to your point, you've cleared a lot of the old energy, which kind of matches very much with the.
very much matches it. Yeah.
So I think it's that taking that big reset. So that's coming
Mhm.
pretty soon. Yep.
Yeah, very, very, very positive. And for folks, you want to just be aware of where Virgo and Pisces is in your chart. Like, is it in your sixth house of daily habits and routines? Is it in your 10th house of career? So there's something you might be releasing or inviting with your career. So within your chart, you'll have a sense of where that is. And the other days to watch out for that I feel are important are the grand trines that are happening. Basically, let me go into it here. Um, the sun and Mercury are moving into a point like right about here where it's going to grand trine Uranus and Pluto. And that's a very positive flow of energy. Trines are very helpful. They kind of my goals are your goals are my goals. They kind of roll up their sleeves and help each other out. And so we're going to see a point where first Mercury will grand trine Pluto and Uranus. A lot of breakthrough energy, a lot of new insights. And then we're going to see the sun grand trine Pluto and Uranus. And so let's go right into it in terms of that. So the first one is Mercury's going to happen first on the 18th, and going to see a lot of breakthroughs, new thinking, new perspectives. It's very transformative way of looking at things. With Uranus, you're going to want to rebel and kind of adopt new ways of doing things. Pluto is just like you have to let things go so you can have new things emerge. And the Mercury is just our thinking and our thoughts. Even our communication can possibly change in different ways. And so there's also a sense of this, I don't want to go back with this energy. I don't want to do this old way of doing things, this old way of approaching things, both at the collective level, but also on a personal level. There's going to be something in your own daily habits and routines you're sort of going to let go of or just approach differently with this type of grand trine. And there's also a sense of ambition with this because of Pluto and Uranus. You're sort of going to ask for more. You're going to almost think bigger or dream bigger. So during this trine on the 18th, it's a great day to maybe generate ideas for manifestation. Maybe you don't actually manifest it, but you might just start to write them out or draw them. This is a great day for creative thinking, creative new ideas. If you're brainstorming, writing a book or you're brainstorming a new concept like a new dress or something or a new house, this is a great day to kind of allow new energies to kind of come to you. So that's with Mercury. And then a couple days later, we're going to have that with the sun. And this is the sun in Libra. So I just want to focus on that aspect of it. With the sun is so powerful, but it's in Libra. So there's something about that type of energy, not about thinking a new perspective, but more about relationships, like how we collaborate with others, especially choosing people that maybe aren't as aren't moving to our new timeline. There's a sense of feeling a bit rebellious and maybe letting go of friendships or letting go of relationships aren't really moving towards your new timeline. This might not be that there's something wrong with them. There's just a sense of maybe they're not going with where you're going now. You could have a sense of boredom with some friend groups or romantic partners, and maybe you feel outgrowing them. That's kind of the energy, outgrowing people, outgrowing relationships, outgrowing folks. And there also could be an angle of this with finances because of some of the other planets involved. There could be a new way of generating finances or new way of approaching finances. And you have an appetite to adopt these new practices because you don't want to go back. You want to be more modern in some sense of these of the word, sorry, with these transits. And what are you picking up, Nate, with these grand trines?
Yeah, very interesting. So the first one with the 18, I got the
Yeah.
Empress here.
Mhm.
And this is a card of abundance. This is also a card of power. This is a card of prosperity. So
Hmm.
it's interesting. I mean, those themes are kind of the manifestation after the 18th. Um,
Hmm.
and so I felt like it kind of adds on to what you're saying, like those new thinkings and breakthrough will bring people, if they apply it well, to a
Mm.
state of abundance and
Yeah.
prosperity.
Yes, it will.
Fascinating for the other one on the 23rd.
Hmm.
I got the Queen of Pentacles, and you were actually talking about finances and
Yes.
money. So that
Yes.
was kind of dead on, where I feel like it is actually bringing the new finances and money. You really can't
Mhm.
make that up. It's matching really,
Yep.
really well. Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
wouldn't be
cards
surprised
of
if some.
two
Go
cards
ahead.
of manifestation. One has
Hmm.
more to deal with the manifestation of power, and the other one, if you're, I feel like the 23rd has a lot more to deal with finances and money. Yeah.
Hmm. So maybe you could do two different types of manifesting activities on
Yes.
either, like
Yes.
maybe thinking of the ideas and the power structures of this one, and then especially thinking, and then this
Yes.
one is more the actual
Actual
tangible.
in the 3D world. Yeah.
Yeah, in the 3D world. Yeah. Yeah, and those are the two areas of the Grand Trine. A lot of breakthroughs that will happen. And the last one is September 24th. This is when Mars is in Virgo, and Mars is in Virgo is like a lot of Mars is passion, energy, also our bravery and inner warrior. Virgo is like the details, health, daily habits, and this is squaring Pluto in Aquarius. And so with just the Mars squaring Pluto, there's a lot of power struggles, like fear of being dominated or dominating someone. This is like I'm defending myself, or am I on the offensive? Sorry, am I on the defensive, protecting myself, or am I on the offensive, encroaching on someone else? And so there's something about that blurriness that will happen during this time. There's also a sense of trust issues will happen. It's hard to get a sense of, are we friend or foe? Like how are we relating to each other? There's also a sense of this. There's a sense of like the whole overall September is about the eclipses and about toxic purges and purifying your life in different ways. And with this particular square, there could be an element of this. There could be an element of I want to get these toxic people or these toxic conflict situations out of my life. With this particular square, you have a sense of maybe this is not serving me. This is I'm being triggered by these people. These people are envious of me in certain ways. There's something about this Mars square Pluto within this September eclipse energy that could be about unnecessary conflict and how you might need to get rid of people in situations that are causing power struggles that shouldn't be there because they're they're jealous, you're jealous, like there's something about that that's not healthy, it's not serving both, and so you need to kind of purge that. And so it's very likely there could be like a crossroads moment that happens with this where relationships end or people just start heading to new timelines. So it's very interesting with the overall eclipse energy because September is about these fated moments where you were going this way and you're going to be pivoting to different ways. And with this last particular astrological event on the 24th, it's going to be a bit more dramatic in terms of how that happens. You're going to likely see it in your life. This is not something you're just having a dream at, and wake up in the morning and have the experience or, you just think on it. This is going to be a bit more viscerally felt. And so for folks who have a Virgo and Aquarius placements, just be aware of that because you will feel that a lot more. Yeah.
For this last
Yeah.
one, yeah, for this last one, I pulled the Six of Sword, and it is moving away, kind of your last moving away
Yeah.
from troubled waters. So that
Yeah.
movement, moving away from toxic situations,
Yep.
moving away from toxic people, moving away. So that kind of matches. It's almost
It
like the
does.
outcome. You separate yourself from a situation that really no longer serves you. Yeah.
Yep. That crossroads separating and moving
Yeah.
to timelines and
Yes.
different timelines. So folks be aware of some friendships group or just you make a break from different habits, different people, different contexts. You might decide to relocate during this time. Like there's something about breaking away that happens with the 24th, especially that Six of Swords energy. That's completely. It's so funny when we do this, where you do the tarot and the astrology. I mean, if you're very spiritual, you're not surprised, but there's
But you're
also the
still
part of me
surprised. Yes.
I'm like very like, oh wow, it actually worked. And so yeah, folks, that is the September astrology. And so let me go back to this diagram. So you have a sense of just overall, this is the sky path of how the planets were moving for September. So folks are aware of what planets they natally have on some of these placements. You can start to interpret how your September might go. And then also, I want to announce I'm offering a calendar for this year, for next year. I'm going to send this out December of this year, and it's the sky path that I've been doing for each month. I'm going to go ahead and create all of them for 2026, and I'm going to send if I have a calendar for purchase where it's going to overlap your actual natal chart. So this is my natal chart actually. And so you're going to see where your natal chart placements are, and then you're going to see for that month how the planets motions are impacting your natal placements. And so if you're more moderate level astrologer or moderate level student of astrology, you can start to interpret that. Like, for example, everyone's going to have a pile up that's going to happen in January with late stage Capricorn, early stage Aquarius. So we can see what placements you have. And for me, I have my moon. So that's going to be an interesting experience for me in January. And then it also will include full moon and new moon guidance based on your rising sign, like so how to orient to the full moon and new moon energies. And then it will also highlight key dates. So basically, with this calendar, you'll get a snapshot of what I do here with these monthly astrological forecast, but you will get it ahead of time. I'm only making 150 of them because I manually do this. I draw a lot of these graphics, and so I'm only going to commit to 150. We'll have a link at the bottom of the video for folks who want to book that. And then I'm also offering an astrology class. This is going to happen October 11th. And I'm creating the curriculum right now, and it's going to be very playful. It's going to be very somatic. We're going to do like body movements to encompass each planet. And we're going to incorporate different sounds and metaphors. So I have a light version of synthesization where two senses kind of overlap, and I can have experiences where I actually see letters and numbers by gender. So each letter and number have a gender in my brain because of the synthesization. And so I'm going to invoke that with this. We're going to use like music to explain how planets are when they're in a trine versus a square, and like have a melody so you can really cement that knowledge. And then we're going to have other kind of somatic, we're going to use a lot of food metaphors to help you understand the elements and things being in the same family. So I'm having a lot of fun with creating this curriculum. It's going to be a lot of fun to just really internalize astrology. So for folks who always wanted to learn astrology, this is just going to be a fun way of doing it. And then I'm also bringing back my manifestation course later this year on the 1111 portal. And I had the class on the Lionsgate portal, and it was such a success. We had about 70 students altogether, 35, 35. And I hired a third party person to do the class survey feedback. And we had 87% said they would use the manifestation principles in their daily life. 97% said the class exceeded their expectations, and 97% would take another class again in the future. So this was very, very positive feedback. And so I'm bringing it back again. And so folks want to register, just go ahead and click the bottom of the video description to do that. Otherwise, yeah, you also have some classes coming up, Nath.
Yes, I have one late September, which
Hmm.
is live but also recorded. I believe it's on the 23rd, a Saturday, which is kind of a entry level class on playing cards, reading divination using playing cards.
Ooh, I haven't. Oh,
Uh,
that sounds interesting.
Yes, and that's actually a bit of my personal story because I actually was reading playing cards when I was 8 or 9 years old. That's how I got to be where I am today. I
Oh,
started,
interesting.
yes, yes,
Did someone?
and I
Yeah.
still have the book with me that I was using when I was 8. Even though I
Wow.
moved around the world, I still have the
Yeah.
book with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then in October. Really new idea. I don't even have the signing link, but I can mention
Hmm.
it here. We will be looking at divination systems, a lot of divination systems, but focused on health. So using tarot
Mm,
for health, Lenormand for
mm.
health,
Yeah.
playing cards for health, and just kind of what cards mean what, but just looking at health.
Yeah.
And so that could be very interesting.
Yeah.
If Trump is still alive by then, we could actually go through a whole health system and see, what's wrong with him.
Oh
So
my
other
goodness.
than the obvious. And
Yeah.
so we'll but I think it's like, so this is for, I mean, it could be entry level, but
Hmm.
also intermediate people who actually are readers, but they
Hmm.
haven't really got into dealing with the difficult topic of health
Yeah. Yeah.
reading.
Yeah.
And that's actually, it's one of the most common question, but it's
Hmm.
very sensitive as well.
Yeah.
So how to do a health reading. And
I
so,
think
yeah.
I think that's a really good class. I think a lot of times with this intuitiveness of just doing hits, you have to learn how to separate your ego from just being in the state of receiving. And so when you do more work, you can understand these are your thoughts, and then this is you actually just receiving information. But when it comes to something you really are sensitive about or you care about, like health, it's hard to separate the two because your ego wants an outcome. But when you can outsource it to cards or some external method, like, tarot or something like that, that can help remove that ego battle that happens with what you want them to tell you versus what you're sort of hearing. And so yeah, I can see that being very valuable for folks to get feedback about what's happening versus what they want to have happen.
Yeah, plus also there's the aspect of diagnosing the issue, but there's also the
Mm,
aspect of helping people using information from spirit on what can they do. There are special cards that could represent a specialist, a medicine, natural
mm.
medicine. So what can
Yeah,
the cards tell you
yeah,
to help you with your own health situation? So this could be used also, this class, as a tool to work with your own health and
yeah,
understand, even if you are in general good health, well, what
yeah,
can you improve on? What can you? So it's really
yeah.
on the topic of divination and health. That would be in October.
Yeah, especially like, for example, you're feeling a lot of heart-related issues with Trump, not because of what they have said, but what you feel intuitively. And so it's allowing people to build that intuitive knowledge about circulatory system or digestive system or like other like cognitive systems. So that's your class will help with that in terms of folks being able to intuitively sense the different systems and how to work with that. Yeah. Very, very cool. And then, folks, if you're not familiar, Nathe has a really amazing offer where he does three questions for $55, and he will send you a video for 12 to 15 minutes. And I've actually purchased this three times myself, and I will purchase it again if I need it in the future. And he will channel his response to you for like 12, 15 minutes straight. And because you do that uninterrupted, it's almost the same as if I did a 30-minute reading with you and there was a lot of questions back and forth because it's uninterrupted. So it's a very good bargain, folks, for just
Thank you.
having three questions and having it I've recommended so many folks to try you out through that. So
And in
yeah,
all transparency, some of those videos are a bit shorter than 12
then
minutes.
12, 15
There
minutes.
are
Yeah,
10
if you can
minutes.
answer it
There
very
are some
quickly.
10 minutes because some of
Yeah,
the questions are very direct and
yeah,
specific, A or B, and there's
yeah,
not
that's
as
true.
much. But yeah, I'll share whatever I see, and some
Yeah.
of those videos could be longer or shorter. But yes, thank you for not only sharing that, but also referring a lot of your clients to me. So
Yeah, no,
thank you
it's a
so
great
much.
bargain. Yeah.
Yes, thank you for coming to the channel,
Yes.
sharing all of this wonderful information.
Yes.
And so when are we seeing you back on the channel?
Let's do this again next month when we
Okay,
unpack what happened for the eclipse season and
okay, okay.
see if Trump is still here.
Okay. Well, thank you, and thank you everyone for watching us. And
Yes.
Ness information will be in the description
Yes.
video. So if
Yeah.
any of the offers that she talked about are of interest, just feel free to email her, click on the links.
Yes.
She's like a super pro. So
Yes.
thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Nate. Appreciate it. And bye, everyone. Talk
Bye,
to you again.
everyone. Thank you.